Hello and welcome. My name is Eric Grogan of Grogan Law PLLC. Today I'm going to present on how you can protect your assets for your family and avoid the time and cost of Texas probate. So who is this presentation for? This presentation is for those people who want to protect their assets for their family. It's for people who are wanting to help their loved ones avoid Texas probate. And it's for people who want to ease, at least as much as possible, any potential family tension in a time of crisis. I'm going to present today on how our clients achieve both peace of mind and a job well done, as well as a sense of security for themselves and for their families. And our clients do this both without being misinformed and without feeling uneasy about the unknown. So to start, does this sound like you? Are you overwhelmed? Are you overwhelmed by the sheer volume of information that's out there? And are you trying to make sense of all of it, even when the information given doesn't make any sense? Are you afraid? Are you afraid of the consequences of either not doing it correctly or not being sure that you did do it correctly if you've already tried to get estate planning done? Are you intimidated? Are you intimidated by the process? Do you keep kicking the can down the road? Because that's easy to do. Procrastination's real. And it's easy to be intimidated when it comes to estate planning. So what's the real problem? I think the real problem is pretty simple. The real problem is you haven't spoken to someone who can help you and help you make the right decisions for yourself and for your family. Once you do, you can rest assured. You can rest assured knowing that you've been informed of what your options are and the best ways that you can accomplish your individual goals. You can be comforted knowing that you have an appropriate plan in place that checks all your boxes and does what you want it to do. And finally, you can be relieved. You've started the process. You've made sure you've got done what you needed to get done, and you and your loved ones are cared for, and everything's going to be all right. So who am I? And why might I be the right choice for you? Well, I'm not your typical attorney. I actually make house visits pretty regularly, much like a country doctor used to, or still might in some areas. And I work with people directly to make sure that you make the best decisions for yourself and your family. I generally don't use forms. I actually ask people questions, and I meet with you typically face-to-face, whether it be over Zoom or in person. I don't utilize paralegals, and I make this really a very personal process, which is what estate planning should be. So what's the first mistake that I see most people make? For me, the first mistake, and probably the biggest one, is people very often Google themselves into a hole. And that's a big problem because there's a dearth of terrible information online about estate planning and how to do it correctly. But don't get me wrong, there's some good information out there too. The problem is it's really difficult to discern the good information from the bad information if you're not an estate planning lawyer and you don't handle these matters regularly. The second mistake that I see fairly regularly, and this isn't just from my estate planning practice, but also from my probate practice, is people love to do documents themselves. And it's a lot easier and a lot less expensive to engage some online service like a Rocket Lawyer, but at the end of the day, you're going to get what you pay for. And your estate planning needs are too important to screw up or not do right. So it's very important that you engage with a qualified professional. I mean, anybody can buy a car, but if you don't know how to drive, you're going to hit a tree. The third mistake that I see is not using the secret weapon. And what is the secret weapon? The secret weapon, plainly said, is the no-nonsense solution. So what is the no-nonsense solution? The no-nonsense solution is to actually talk to a qualified estate planning attorney to help you so that you can get your questions answered, understand your options, and get your estate planning done the right way once and for all. Failure to use the no-nonsense solution will keep you stuck in what I term as the old way. And what is the old way? The old way is spending hours in court. Again, probate is real. I have a probate practice. I handle numerous probate claims. Probate most often involves going to court. The old way also involves not having the proper information on hand. Okay? It's really difficult to have a proper estate plan if you haven't checked all your boxes and considered every possible contingency that can occur. That's really difficult to do if you don't know what all your options are and what all the possibilities are, because you haven't talked to somebody who knows what they're doing. The third part of the old way is having your accumulated wealth land in the hands of others, which is really easy to do if you don't plan properly, which leads you right into number 4, which is having unanticipated or unwanted results from improper planning. I cannot tell you how many probates I've had to initiate because people thought they had the proper estate planning in place and they didn't. And they were very surprised when that time came about, but it is what it is. Which brings us right to 5, a one-way ticket to probate. If you have a will, if you don't have a will, almost universally, you're going to need to go through the Texas probate process. And that involves hiring an attorney. It takes a lot of time, and you got to navigate quite a few obstacles to get ultimately where you want to go. So does the old way even make any sense at all? I mean, really, who wants to do that? So if that doesn't make sense, which it shouldn't, you should utilize what I'm terming the new way, which is the no-nonsense solution. And the first step of the new way is to recognize that your situation is not going to resolve itself. No one is going to do this for you. You have to get it done, which means you need to take step 2 and you need to commit to solving the problem and not let this go on any longer. Again, estate planning is a really easy can to kick down the road, but you got to realize that if you don't do it, you're going to have the same problem tomorrow that you have today. And the only person that's going to be able to solve this is you. Your third step is to book time with me to see if I can help you. I can give you some options. I can answer your questions. I can explain steps you can take to make sure you've covered all your bases, you've dotted all your I's, and you've crossed all your T's. And step 4 is to establish that relationship to maintain your plan. I charge flat fees for estate planning clients. And inclusive in those flat fees is your ability to send me an email, give me a phone call, ask me a question, whether it's a day after you've executed a plan or 10 years after you've executed a plan. Because your life's going to change, your needs are going to change, you're going to have questions that come up. It's really important to make sure you understand what you're doing and that your plan doesn't just make sense today, but it makes sense tomorrow too. So here's my brief recap. What are the biggest problems I see? Again, people Google themselves into a hole because there's all sorts of information out there. Most of it isn't good, and people get the wrong idea of what they need to do and how they need to do it. The second problem is settling for a DIY plan when almost everybody could use the help of a competent estate planning attorney who can explain their options and make sense of the process. And then 3, the third problem I see is not using the secret weapon, which is the common sense solution of involving a professional to help you with a professional problem. This brings me to the 4th mistake: failure to review every 3 to 5 years. What if you get divorced? What if you get married? What if you have another kid? What if tax law changes? All of these things are pretty important and they impact your estate plan. It's really important that you stay on top of this kind of stuff. The 5th mistake I see people do is hire literally a jack of all trades lawyer. In full disclosure, I have other practice groups. I don't just practice in estate planning and probate. The bulk of my practice is estate planning and probate, and I've drafted literally hundreds of estate plans, but it's not the only thing I do. But at the same time, you need to make sure that the attorney you trust to help you with your estate planning knows that the devil's in the details, and it's too important not to miss any of these details because your estate plan warrants full consideration to every possible contingency that's out there. So today I made some promises. I promised to talk about how you can protect your assets and your family from essentially Texas probate. Let's see how I did on some of those promises. I talked about the 5 critical mistakes that I see people make when it comes to estate planning. I started with people Googling themselves into a hole, which again is a massive issue because there's just too much information out there to make sense of it all. And most importantly, there's too much information out there for people who are not estate planning attorneys to discern between the good information and the bad information. I talked about settling for a DIY plan, which can sound really attractive because it's a lot easier to do and it's a lot less expensive. But again, you're going to get what you pay for. I talked about not using the secret weapon. People are much more successful when they actually see an estate planning attorney to actually get done what they want to get done. It's so important to enlist the help of a professional with your estate planning needs. I talked about the 4th mistake, which is your failure to review every 3 to 5 years because everyone's life changes. People come in, people come out, assets come in, and assets come out. It's very important to make sure you stay on top of your plan. And finally, I talked about why you shouldn't hire a jack-of-all-trades lawyer, why you should hire somebody who has experience and centers their practice around estate planning and probate. So now you have a choice, and it's really a pretty simple choice. You can plan now and get qualified help, or you can continue to kick the can down the road and hope that the situation resolves itself. So how can I help you? I will set aside time to speak to you personally about your situation and possible solutions. And whatever your biggest challenges are, I've seen them and I can help you overcome them. I can't tell you how many people will tell me, my estate planning needs are very complex, and oftentimes it turns out it's really not that bad. Or people on the flip side will tell me, listen, this is going to be really simple and straightforward, and it escalates really quickly into something that's very complex. But that doesn't matter. Whatever your needs are, I can help you get the plan together that best suits you and help you whittle through some of the nonsense to get to that solution. So when you call me, whether we talk on the phone, whether we meet in person, whether we meet on Zoom, I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. We're going to talk. I'm going to need to learn a little bit about your family. I'm going to need to know a lot about what your concerns are and what your goals are. And we'll talk a bit about your estate. But most importantly, I can lay out some planning options to help you accomplish your goals. As a recap, who are these calls for? Whether it be phone, Zoom, or in person. They're for people who want to protect assets for their family. They're for people who want to avoid Texas probate. And they're for people who want to ease any possible potential family tension. So why am I doing this? And that's a great question. In my experience in estate planning, almost everybody I talk to has no idea what they want to do or how to get it accomplished because there's so much misinformation out there. And again, it's really, really difficult to separate myth from fact without help. I'll have people who call me who tell me they need a will and they don't need a will, or they need a trust and they really don't need a trust, or all they need is a power of attorney and it turns out they need quite a bit more than that. Let me help you figure out exactly what you do need and what you don't, and set you straight down that road to success. So contact me. Contact me so that I can help you. I've got my phone number here and a great email address for you to use. You can also use the communication block on the website to send me a form. But either way, contact me. Let's set up a time to discuss exactly what it is that you need done and how we can accomplish it. Finally, I want to say thank you. Thank you for taking the time to watch this presentation. I hope you found it helpful. I hope you found it useful. And hopefully I'll have the opportunity to help you with your estate planning in the future. So please reach out and contact me at your convenience. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.